Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2011 State of the County Address. So many of you have gotten involved and worked diligently to help make this community what it is today. A community I'm very proud to chair and a community I am proud to call home. Thank you for watching. We've come a long way in just the past few years, but we've also had some challenges. And our new board members, Fred Auletta, our District 2 Commissioner, and Bruce Holmes, our District 5 Commissioner, together with Warren Holder, Randy Stamey, Reed Bowman, and myself, will be working hard to make sure Henry County remains a strong, safe, and stable community for all of our citizens. Henry County will celebrate its 190th birthday this year, and I think she looks pretty good for her age. We've gone from horse and buggy days to driving cars capable of going 100 miles per hour or more, when we're not sitting in traffic on I-75, that is. We microwave our meals, we relax in the comfort in air-conditioned homes, but while most of us don't toil under the sun, plowing the fields to make a living anymore, making a living, being able to support our families, that is still the chief concern of our citizens all these years later. And it is a very real fear for many Henry County families right now. Henry County's unemployment rate is still at 9.7%, right in keeping with the state of Georgia at 9.6%. But I really don't need to tell you that. Many of you probably know firsthand, and if you don't, you know someone who's out of work. The foreclosure rate continues to increase, putting Georgia 6th in the nation in the number of foreclosures, and the picture just keeps getting worse. A recent newspaper article I read ranked Henry County 3rd in the nation regarding the rate of personal bankruptcies per household. To get a clearer picture of how this economy is affecting our citizens, I want to step away for a moment from rates and percentages that I typically focus on and look at a few numbers I shared recently at a pastor's luncheon. Children in our community receiving free or reduced lunches number 17,985. Children living in poverty, that is families making less than $22,000 a year for a family of 4, number 6,598. Our homeless population is right at 500, and Helping in His Name Food Pantry served 38,740 people in 2010. There were also 1,127 divorces in 2009, and nearly 1,200 women are abused each year in Henry County alone. My heart goes out to all who are struggling just to make ends meet. The toll it is taking is far beyond people's bank accounts. I encourage citizens who are faring better in this economy to make an extra effort to help those less fortunate. We have some wonderful nonprofit agencies in our community, but many are struggling to meet the increasing needs because their contributions are also suffering due to the economy, and they could use our help. So how has the bleak economy that knocked in the front door of our residents and landed on the front steps of county government affected us corporately? The foreclosure rate that is affecting home values hit Henry County with a billion, that's billion with a B, decrease to our tax digest. The tax digest is the value of all properties in Henry County combined. That value is then converted into a dollar amount, which is the amount each of us pay yearly in county taxes. It's called the tax value. That billion-dollar drop translated into a $12 million reduction in property tax value. So what did Henry County do? We did the same thing many of you are doing, just on a larger scale. We dug in our heels and looked for ways we could save money. We put off making major purchases, and we got creative and found some innovative ways to increase revenue to balance the budget. In fact, you may recall that the fiscal year 2011 budget is $117,685,446. $8.8 million less than last year's and about $4.5 million less than the budget 5 years ago when we had about 30,000 fewer people in our community. And we accomplished it without cutting services for citizens. Instead, we did things like change our employees' health benefits to stave off rising costs and premiums. We used savings realized from SPLOST 2 and SPLOST 3 projects to fund road resurfacing projects, which enabled us to reduce the general fund DOT budget by $4.5 million. We applied for and were awarded more than $3.8 million in grants, offsetting costs from the general fund. Through furloughs and reductions in overtime, we've already realized a savings of nearly $700,000 and expect to save a total of $1.5 million by the end of the fiscal year. And our tax commissioner has done an exceptional job of collecting delinquent personal property taxes, helping the county to recoup more than $8 million in back taxes, the highest collection rate in 15 years. Our Sheriff Keith McBrayer continues to find innovative ways to save money or generate funds for the county. He renegotiated the medical contracts at the jail, which has already saved the county more than $250,000. He also implemented a new phone card program for inmates, which is expected to bring in another $40,000 to $50,000. In addition, we are now using inmate labor to provide janitorial services in some of our buildings, which is expected to save the county more than $65,000. But $12 million is an enormous gap to fill. Even after the budget cuts, retirements, furloughs, and other innovative cost containment measures, the county was still left with a deficit of more than $3.7 million. An upward millage rate adjustment from 10.969 mills to 11.75 mills was only employed after exhausting all other options. But because home values have dropped so dramatically, it did not mean a tax increase for most homeowners. In fact, the vast majority still saw their taxes go down. Last year, I likened this situation to running a marathon. Every budgetary decision was made based on what we and the community could endure for the course set before us. We knew we were going to be in this budget situation for quite some time. There could be no quick fixes and no shortcuts. So if I stuck with that analogy, I would describe where we are now as a long, steep incline where the true athletes, the most physically fit runners, set a steady pace meant to filter out the weak. And I will tell you with certainty that despite all the bad news that I have given you to this point, Henry County is one of those pace setters that will lead the way to the finish line. While other communities are collapsing under the strain, Henry County is pulling ahead, having attracted several new industries to our community. DeWaffle Bakers, Phillips Van Heusen, Inline Plastics, and Whirlpool have all brought more than 1,000 jobs to our community over the past year, with the expectation of expanding their operations here over time. SPLOST revenues are up 3.2% compared to last year as people are spending more, indicating a slight improvement in consumer confidence. Building permits and impact fees, things which had really taken a nosedive 2 years ago, are starting to level off and even increase slightly. 5 years ago, we were bringing in more than $4.4 million annually in impact fees from developments under construction. In 2009, that bottomed out at $253,000 and is now leveling off and even trending upward slightly to $286,000 in 2010. Building permits are showing similar results. After hitting a high in 2006 of 18,249 and falling to less than a quarter of that in 2009, they are leveling off with more than 4,000 having been issued in 2010. But there is still much to be concerned about. The $1 billion or 15% reduction our tax digest took last year only accounted for reassessments to our residential properties. This year, commercial and industrial properties will be reassessed, leaving us vulnerable to the possibility that our tax base could fall another 9%. That is a 23% reduction in our tax digest in just 2 years' time. So perhaps a more fitting analogy for Henry County is that of a ship anchored in the ocean. Not this ship, and we are certainly not this ship, but more like this. We aren't moving forward or backward, and we aren't hopelessly drifting at the mercy of the winds. You've seen the headlines, but unlike so many communities that are essentially sinking in their debt, we remain solidly afloat, safely and securely anchored in place, waiting until the current shifts. Through careful money management, we've balanced the budget without dipping into our fund balance, which is another word for a savings account that is required by law. And we have also been able to maintain a AA1 bond rating, which has enabled the county to bond money for projects at lower interest rates, helping to stretch taxpayer dollars even farther. Bonding projects also enables us to take advantage of today's low competitive bids while also allowing the community to benefit from the completion of these projects sooner. And the fact that we are not only completing projects but continuing to break ground on others is a powerful indicator of the good economic shape Henry County finds itself in. Let's take a minute to look at some of the most recent projects completed. The Fortson Library in Hampton, the first new library built under SPLOST west of I-75, is triple the size of the old Fortson Library and offers better amenities and more convenient access for citizens living in that area. The soccer complex at Mount Carmel Park is a 14-field complex that will enable children of all ages to practice and play at one facility. With more than 1,000 kids participating, this complex was desperately needed, and parents with kids playing in two different age brackets will appreciate not having to dash between two parks every Saturday during soccer season. The Fairview Recreation Center is a 26,000 square foot facility that will provide a convenient location for residents in the area to get some exercise and for youth to participate in parks and recreations programs. These recreation facilities and fields have become more and more important to the community as families are not spending a lot of money on entertainment. The judicial parking deck was completed in McDonough. The 306-space deck provides ample parking for the courts, opening up parking spaces downtown, which is helping merchants around the square to attract more customers. Fire Station Number 9 on Rock Quarry Road in Stockbridge is also underway, which will replace the oldest station still in operation in Henry County. All of these projects were completed using SPLOST sales tax dollars. SPLOST also funded the right-of-way and engineering for the recently completed McDonough Parkway extension, the first of several phases of a planned bypass around McDonough Square. This section extends McDonough Parkway northward from where it ended at Jonesboro Road to Highway 42. Once completed, this bypass will ultimately extend eastward across Highway 155 and all the way to Highway 20. SPLOST completed 10 other transportation projects in 2010. They were Phase 2 of the East Lake Extension, Collins Drive, Simpson Mill Road, and South Bethany Road, plus intersection improvements at Airline and Highway 20, Bethany Road at Highway 81, Keys Ferry Road at Highway 81, Old Conyers Road at Flat Rock Road, Peaksville Road at South Ola Road, and Peaksville Road at Highway 42. 10 other transportation projects are underway in Henry County, with 14 more in the design or right-of-way acquisition phase. Chief among them is, of course, the Eagles Landing Parkway widening, for which we received more than $22 million in ARRA stimulus funds, enabling us to return those dollars to SPLOST coffers to fund even more SPLOST projects. Others under construction include the Hudson Bridge Road widening, which together with Eagles Landing Parkway and the East Lake Road extensions will create a critical east-west thoroughfare through the central part of the county. The East Atlanta Road Bridge, South Bethany Road, Mackey Road and Stallsworth Road, and improvements to intersections at East Atlanta Road and Panola Road, Millers Mill Road and Highway 138, Rocky Creek Road and Hampton Locust Grove Road, Highway 42 and King Mill Road, and Highway 81 and Lake Dow Road. In spite of the economy, we still have a lot going on in Henry County and much to be proud of. But what do we see looking ahead in 2011? First and foremost, we must do more to position ourselves to attract business and industry to our county. Henry County continues to be a bedroom community. 69% of our workforce commutes outside the county each day to their jobs. Some may ask why that's a bad thing. From a tax-based position, that is not a good place to be, as it means the majority of government services are being funded by residential property owners, because the business and industry that would provide those jobs and help support government services are not here. In fact, just 23% of our tax base is comprised of commercial or industrial properties. Attracting new business and industry would not only improve our tax base and help government's bottom line, it would also create jobs that would keep our workers closer to home and reduce traffic congestion on the interstate. And that would enhance our quality of life by giving us more time with our families and maybe more time to enjoy some of the beautiful parks we have here in the county. So our board will be working closely with staff to review our policies and procedures to ensure that they are not stifling business but inviting it. We will determine whether or not we need to change and update our ordinances, and we will examine impact fees and any other policies that may be a hindrance to attracting new economic growth. Together with the Development Authority, we will be putting the final touches on our new incentives program designed to put Henry County in a better position to retain existing business while making our community one of the most appealing places to locate and expand industry in Metro Atlanta. Some incentives under consideration include the reduction or waiver of plan review fees, caps on business license and building permit fees, expedited development plan review and permit processing, and bonds for title. But again, this is a work in progress, and we hope to have this completed soon. As was outlined in our One Henry economic strategy, our goal is to build on our strengths as a community. Those strengths include the healthcare industry and education. This is due largely in part to the presence of Henry Medical Center and the educational institutions that are already located here, as well as the greatly anticipated Southern Crescent Technical College that will hopefully be underway by the fall. Now, you might not think you need to worry about education in Henry County if you don't have children or grandchildren in the schools, but a community's schools and education opportunities affect us all. Last fall, officials with the county and city governments, together with the Chamber of Commerce, the Board of Education, the Development Authority, and other community leaders, came together for an intergovernmental retreat. The focus was on education, and we saw just how much education, or lack thereof, affects our economy. We learned that in Georgia alone, there were more than 22,000 young people in 2010 who did not graduate high school. That's 22,000 people who are not ready for the workforce that we will ultimately have to support. In fact, as of April 2010, the unemployment rate in Georgia among those with less than a high school diploma was 14.5%, compared to 4.4% among those with a bachelor's degree or higher. But it is the foregone income potential of these non-graduates that really demonstrates their negative impact on our economy. For example, if the dropout rate in the Atlanta metro area alone were to be cut in half, the class of 2008 would have graduated 14,000 more students. Those students would ultimately have contributed $110 million more spending in the economy, $440 million more in investing, $349 million more in home purchases by the midpoint of their careers, and $14 million more on vehicle purchases each year. This additional spending and investment would potentially support 1,200 new jobs and increase the gross regional product of metropolitan Atlanta by up to $204 million by the time these graduates reach the midpoint of their career. And that is just the private sector. The lifetime public benefit of higher tax revenues coupled with lower government spending on health, crime, and welfare is also substantial, with a $209,100 benefit to the public sector for every additional student that graduates high school. In Henry County, 18% of our students did not graduate in 2010. That is 18% too many. So you can see why attendees at the retreat agreed that the following measures are critical in promoting economic development in our community. Increasing Henry County's graduation rate, ranking among the top Georgia schools, increasing dual enrollment and securing funds for the technical college I previously mentioned, becoming a work-ready certified community, and increasing participation in early learning programs to enhance school readiness. We also realize it really does take a village. This is not the sole responsibility of the Board of Education. It's everyone's responsibility. We must raise awareness among new parents of the importance of early learning programs to ensure that our children are ready for school, because statistics show that those who aren't ready for kindergarten may never catch up. We must become mentors and work to find ways to keep students in school to obtain their diplomas and inspire them to pursue degrees. And we must never forget that our children are our future. They will be the leaders in this community, so we must guide them well so that they can one day take the helm and guide our future. Again, these are tough times. This is my third State of the County address as chairman of Henry County, and it is probably the most difficult year we have ever faced financially as a county. However, I cannot think of a better time to be in this position as we prepare for our future. I believe the people of this county share my resolve when I say we will not lose hope, we will not back down, we will not turn around. It has been said that the man who can drive himself further once the effort gets painful is the man who will win. Do you remember earlier when I likened us to a ship that's dropped anchor? We will soon pull up anchor and set sail again. Always remember that our opportunities will only be as great as our vision, and I see many great things ahead in Henry County's future.